I forgot to hit record, so that was supposed to be in the show, all of that, but I wasn't recording it. Oh well.
Uh-oh.
Should we start again?
We can sum it up real quick.
That's all right. Yeah, stupid notes. So I've turned off all notifications just because they're so pointless. I don't know if I'm missing out on anything,
Right.
but I'd guess not.
They used to work better than they do now. We've been doing this for a few years, and early on, I was consistently getting notifications, a single notification, and it always said when you changed the notes. But now, like you said, it's any time that I type at all, it says you edited the show notes.
The wrong person. How does it get that wrong? Like, there are two people in this note. I'm the one typing, and you're probably asleep because it's 3 a.m. and yet it thinks you're the one doing it. Anyway.
Yeah, something's broken in the last 6 months or so.
I would say longer than that. I'd say it's been broken for years. Early days, it certainly worked. I don't know. How long has Shared Notes been around? At least a couple of years now.
It's been as long as we've had the show.
Good point. Yep.
But I think it might have been a brand new feature when we started the show. Because I know our show notes was the very first shared note that I'd ever used.
Yeah, that's possibly true for me as well. It's kind of hard to see that in notes. Let's see. Actually, I've got a
maybe
shared
our note has gotten...
Sorry?
Mm-hmm. As it maybe our show notes have gotten so long that it's like corrupting things because they're not expecting a thousands and thousands of lines note document.
It's also just text, though. Like, surely a note with a single image has more data in it than our entire show note history.
Our show note history has a single image in it.
Not for me, it doesn't. Oh, wait.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I don't even know what it is. It's a picture of a car.
It's a picture of a car. What is that? It's a Street View car.
Oh, I think you might have shared it
Fremantle.
saying that you saw the Street View car near you or
It's
something.
the Apple Street View car. Yeah, I saw it locally and posted the photo. Very interesting. I was just going to say, I found a shared note in my list from 2016, so it's possibly been around since then.
Okay. So I'm in a bit of a crisis at the moment. I think that's the right word for my emotional state of being.
Is it the same crisis as last week?
No, but this hasn't helped.
All right, go on.
So as I do post Apple event keynote, the first thing I did is I pulled up the Apple website and I ordered the new watch.
Okay.
And then I really like because there's no time to think about it. You have to do it immediately if you want it day of release.
Typically, yeah.
So no thought, just jump on it and order the watch. But after I ordered it, I sat there and I thought for a good while about it. I thought, what's different? I'm going to spoil a bit of the show coming up, but that's fine.
That's fine.
It's got a blood oxygen sensor, and it's a little bit faster. And I ordered the stainless steel variant because that's the one that matches the most of my bands. So the blood oxygen sensor, I'm not going to use ever, just like I never use my echocardiogram in my current watch. And it being slightly faster means nothing to me when all I use it for is receiving notifications and sending text messages. And so I canceled my order.
Oh, didn't see that part coming.
Yeah, well, here's the thing, and I think it does have to do with last week. I was like, because it ends up being, I didn't get I got the stainless steel one, and I didn't get a sport loop one. I got one of the new leather loops that looked cool. So this was just shy of $1,000 order on a watch that was not exciting to me at all. Didn't offer me any new features. It was just, I want to say I own the Series 6, so I bought it. And I'm like, well, that's only a few $100s shy of the Surface Duo that I really do want. Not that I'm going to buy it, but it's silly to spend this much money on something I'm not excited about when there's things I am excited about that cost that much too. So I canceled it, and I'm waiting until October to see the iPhone announcement, because the one other thing that the Series 6 has that mine doesn't, that might be exciting, is the U1 ultra wideband chip. And if they do something really amazing at this October keynote with AirTags and the new iPhone and the ultra wideband chip and the watch, that might be exciting enough to jump in. But at the moment, I'm abstaining.
Wait, the new Apple Watch has the ultra wideband chip.
It does. They didn't announce it on stage, but it's in the tech specs.
What could that be doing? Surely not helping you locate an AirTag device.
Well, I'm thinking it's more to help you locate the watch if you lose the watch. Which, that on its own, probably isn't exciting enough for me either, because I've never once lost my watch in the 5 years I've owned an Apple Watch. But it can theoretically be used for other things as well. There's been rumors the last year or so that Apple's going to be moving AirDrop over to this technology because it can be used for data transfer as well. So, I don't know. Maybe they have some exciting things. Maybe there's AR-related things involved because it's such precise positioning. So,
but
we'll
in
see.
The watch? Like, what's the watch going to do with AR? I can't comprehend anything that it might be useful for in the watch. And
if we're going to make a big stretch here,
mm-hmm.
and they announce Apple Glass as a one more thing in October, maybe the AR experience of Apple Glass can anchor to the position of your Apple Watch. So you pull your watch up and an AR display comes out of it. It's just a complete shot in the dark, but that's one precise positioning thing that they could potentially do with it.
That would be super awesome to have something like that. Very futuristic as well.
Right. I'm not expecting anything to that extent. I'm positive it's just to help you find your watch if you lose it. But that's probably not going to be exciting enough for me to jump to it either.
No, no. My watch is in two places. It's either on the charger or on my wrist. I would lose my phone more than I lost my watch.
And I went into this keynote already knowing this was going to be an underwhelming watch update for me, and I had already resolved that this year I would upgrade to the ceramic edition watch, and getting the new ceramic watch will be what makes it exciting for me this year. And they ditched the ceramic watch.
There we go.
So yeah, so nothing at all to be excited about. Anyway, before I spoil the whole keynote just with my complaining,
that's all right.
We should jump into it.
Well, good morning.
Good morning.
I was up at 1:40 a.m. with a screaming child.
Well, that's the perfect time to also be watching a keynote.
It was very coincidental, and I managed to watch the keynote.
So what was more miserable, the screaming child or the keynote?
Wow. Sick burn on the keynote. I appreciated that our expectations were set early on when Tim said something like, this is going to be a keynote about the Apple Watch and the iPad. He really brought the whole thing down like 5 notches. And then it was kind of like a little bit of a positive when we got like the fitness and the bundle subscription, because he didn't mention them at the start. But yeah, I came away super pessimistic.
Had he said nothing,
had
he said nothing, everyone would be waiting for the iPhone the whole time, and it would have been way more of a letdown.
Oh yeah, that would have been a huge blunder if he'd done that. I would have just thrown my phone out the window, probably gone and bought the Microsoft Duo.
Well, should we just go through this in the order they announced it?
That's what we normally do, isn't it? And thank you for making all
That seems to be our tradition now.
Yeah, it's the tradition. Thanks for making all the show notes as well. I went to do it. I wasn't going to do what you did. I was just going to like paste in the Reddit topics, and then boom. There it all was. Yeah.
Well, I didn't know you were going to be up at 1 a.m. I thought that you're going to be trying to scramble to catch up with everything right before we recorded.
It wouldn't have been much of a scramble in the end, considering the length of the event.
That's fair. Yeah, you had more time than average.
And I did a lot of skipping and watched the whole thing at 1.25.
I mean, yeah, not only was the show half the length of average, but I would say half of even what was there was filler.
Oh, so much filler.
Between the segments on how impactful the Apple Watch has been to some people, or the segments where developers come on and say what they've done with the iPad, or the 10 minutes on how they're more environmentally friendly now. The same stuff we hear every keynote. You could have cut all that out and we would have had a 30-minute keynote.
Possibly less, yeah. Back in the old days. Mm-hmm. Well, I guess originally I would watch everything, and then slowly actually, it depends if I watch live or not, but if not, I would tend to skip the third-party developer segments. And then I was skipping like the updates at the start, but then Apple started skipping them themselves, which was nice. But yeah, now it's at the point where the Apple Watch Saved My Life segment is a bit of a trope, so I'm skipping that. And the environmental part, yeah. No, I think maybe even before the Apple Watch Saved My Life was being skipped, I was skipping the environmental stuff as well. So yeah, I think it pays just to start watching maybe like 20 minutes after the actual thing starts, and then by the time you reach the end, you've probably caught up to live.
I couldn't do it. My anticipation is too built up by that point. I got to watch it live.
All right. You pay the price then.
Uh-huh.
First off the bat was the Apple Watch Series 6, though.
Yeah. This was pretty much everything that I was anticipating, but also I was surprised by the colors. I don't think anyone had mentioned leading up to the event that there was going to be new colors.
No. I can't remember. Did I record the part where you said you ordered it and then cancelled your order? What's that?
I don't know. I don't know where you started.
Me either. I'm sorry. That was a good story.
I think I'm fairly certain that you recorded that.
All right.
I think we had the discussion afterwards.
Okay. I hope so.
The problem for me with a blue and red watch is, in my mind, a watch has to be really, I don't even know the word. It has to match any outfit you're wearing. So to get a bright red or a bright blue watch, I feel like you're really limiting what you can wear with. I wouldn't necessarily wear a product red Apple Watch if I was trying to get dressed up for something, whereas my stainless steel watch is just a matter of switching a band out and suddenly it's a lot more formal. So it doesn't really appeal to me to have brightly colored watches.
No, not to me either, but I think there's certainly a group of people who would try and make a statement with jewellery, including a watch, which might include something that completely stands out from what they're wearing. And there might even be people with enough money that says like they've got the blue outfit watch and the red outfit watch and the silver outfit watch.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, you've got to catch them all. So
it does help that the colored ones are the cheap watches then. You could maybe justify ordering a couple.
Yeah, maybe. I can't, but maybe there are people out there. Yeah.
Oh, no, go ahead.
I was going to say, I was pretty negative on the whole watch announcement by the end of it, and I went back to sleep thinking, well, that was just a waste of time. This is like a dud watch. The watch is starting to, not fail, but they're failing to innovate. But then I kind of reconsidered once I woke up that it's like this every year with the watch, so I'm not sure what I was expecting. They just add like a little feature here, a little feature this year, another feature that year. And instead of having like 3 years between updates, like with certain other watches, or smartwatches, that, 3 years and suddenly it changes completely, I think it's possibly even better to do it this way, even if it is less exciting. Just to add a feature every year, one or two. I think, was it 2 features this year? 2 features every year. But if you do it every year, then you get to the Apple Watch Series 6, which is the 7th watch, I think. And you actually have, what's still the market leader and still an excellent watch. And as I may have recorded you saying, or not very exciting, but still, it's just it's evolving very slightly every year into its best form.
Yeah, and I think the watch is really being marketed for people who aren't me, who want to upgrade every year, and more the people who hold on to their watch for 2 or 3 years. Because at that point, there is a big upgrade.
It's very hard to justify getting it every year. Although I was going to make a point before that if you sold your current watch, you would still get a pretty good rate on the secondhand market, and that means that your this year's purchase probably wouldn't be like the $1,000 that you didn't want to spend. Have you considered that?
I have. I don't know what realistically I could ask for if I was willing to sit and wait, but the number that comes to my head is like $300. And maybe it's more than that, but when we get to things like the SE, which we'll talk about in a bit, is less than 300 US. And I'm selling an older watch. It has a couple more features, but it's a used watch. I think 300 is maybe the most I can reasonably ask for it. And so we're still talking about an almost $700 purchase, which doesn't feel like it offsets the cost enough to justify it for me.
No, it would only work if it was like 2/3 or 3/4 of the new price, but certainly not that 1/3. Yeah, and it doesn't help that there's also like a $199 watch as well on the market.
Right. So the big new stuff in the Series 6 this year, it's got a blood oxygen sensor. I think that's the big feature, to measure your O2 content in your blood. How do you feel about this? Is this a metric that you're interested in at all?
Yeah, I'm really interested in that. Especially because unlike the electrocardiogram, you don't have to actively do it. It'll do it through the day like it does your heart rate, and then record it into the health app, and then you can go and look at trends and see if it dips and see what happened overnight. But I'm really interested to see how my blood oxygen is during the night. Like, I'm a pretty good sleeper, but a pretty big snorer as well, so wondering if that has anything to do with it.
I have been told in the past that I stop breathing in my sleep, and so I would be interested to see if my blood oxygen fluctuates that much throughout the night.
Yeah.
Maybe that'd be an early sign of sleep apnea or something, maybe a good warning indicator.
Exactly, yeah. I know things like drinking alcohol can lead to sleep apnea as well. So, yes, I know a few people who would be very interested in seeing that data. Also interested for my kid because Johannes has had some lung issues in the past, and I'd be interested in just putting a watch on him for a little while to see if his blood oxygen is affected at all.
Well, to be fair, there are very cheap little clips you can stick on his finger that cost way less than an Apple Watch if you want to measure his blood oxygen.
That's not cool, though. That's not cool at all. No, I know you can. I know those exist. They have the expensive version of that at the hospital, the thing that goes in your toe. But what you're losing with that is trends over time and automatic recording to the health app, and
right.
Yeah, when it's in the watch and on me, it's just going to be something that happens automatically, and you never have to think about it until something happens, and then you go and refer to your history, which is just there and waiting for you to check.
Yeah, when they first announced this, the information of itself, like saying that I can see what my blood oxygen content was at any point in time, it doesn't sound immediately useful to me when I first heard it. But then after I read some of the discussions online and saw that there's some direct applications to that, for instance, apparently you're able to measure potentially the onset of like a panic attack for someone with anxiety disorder, and also just how well your lungs are functioning in the case that you potentially get influenza or the coronavirus. It can potentially be an early indicator of your lungs not functioning at full capacity. It's a great measurement for people who are living on our West Coast right now, where it's kind of just on fire right now, and most of our major cities are covered in smoke. That could be a really helpful metric to have. So there actually is a lot of useful application here that once you actually think about it and see how it can be applied, it could save lives.
And there was also the mention of VO2 max measurement. I think that's enabled during this with this sensor, which I don't know much about, but it seems to be an indicator of physical fitness and how that trends over time.
Yeah, so I'd be interested to see not only what the sensor can do in terms of data collection, but maybe what third-party apps come out to help you manage health conditions based on this information.
So it just, it doesn't seem like much, but it's just adding on another biometric sensor. So now we've got pulse, ECG, blood oxygen, fall detection. I think I covered them all.
Ambient noise detection?
Ambient noise detection.
Thing?
Yep.
I guess cycle tracking isn't really a sensor. It's more of just an application.
Yeah, it's just manual data input, isn't it? But
Right.
it's really adding up. All in this tiny little package. It's very futuristic, as they alluded to they spelled out in the advertisement. Did you see that one? It can already do that. I think that was the tagline for the ad.
Something like that.
Which I cringed a little bit at because it when they announced the watch, when I was watching the ad, a lot of what I was thinking was, the previous generation could already do that and that and that. Right. So it lost a bit of the effect, but as a lot of the Redditors said in the thread, this ad is targeted at people that probably don't know the watch inside and out already. Mm-hmm. Actually, that was Ralston33 in the comments. If you visit r/Apple, you weren't the target for this ad. My parents are the targets for this ad, and it would work on them. And it is a good ad, so it already does that, actually, is what it's called. So look that up.
My parents. I would love to convince my parents to get an Apple Watch. My mom says they're too ugly, and she would never wear an ugly watch like that on her wrist. Uh-huh. But she just picked up a Fitbit a couple months ago because she cares about health tracking. But I guess it's not a watch, so she's not worried about how pretty it is.
Okay.
But I don't know. Maybe if she saw that ad, I could convince her to get an Apple Watch.
Just to go through my family, 3 members, I would say for my grandma, it would be very useful, but she would never remember to charge it, so it would always be dead. Uh-huh. I tried to convince my mum once, but she was paranoid about having any sort of Wi-Fi radio strapped to her body. She's a bit like that.
Okay.
And my dad as well, he's a runner, and I convinced him to wear his Garmin and the Apple Watch once on a marathon, and the Apple Watch's GPS was just nowhere near as accurate as the Garmin, so
really?
I scrubbed it for him, yeah.
Huh.
I actually made a YouTube video spelling all that out as well, so if you look up, Garmin versus Apple Watch, you'll come across it.
I'm surprised. You'd think GPS is GPS, and that'd be pretty similar.
Yeah, it's just not as accurate as the running watch at the time. I think I was probably comparing the very first, maybe second Apple Watch with GPS. So it's most likely has improved since then. But
sure,
when you just overlaid the 2 tracks that it drew, like on the map, you could see that the Apple Watch was kind of drawing all over the place, not on the actual running path compared to the Garmin.
Okay. Well, another thing that I guess this might be useful for runners, it has an always-on altimeter now. Do you have any idea in how that could be applied?
No. I'm sure it's handy for some people, especially cyclists, I think.
Right.
Like, they're the ones that are more doing hills. Runners normally look for a flat surface, don't they? I don't know. Probably depends on the athlete.
I mean, I was under the opinion or the assumption, I guess, that the altimeter was already always on. They'd never said it wasn't in the past.
Me too. I thought it already showed you your height. But was it an altimeter or was it a barometer which gave height? Well, I don't know.
Well, I think that if you look at the spec comparison page for the Apple Watch, even the Series 3 says it has an altimeter.
Okay. And
the Series 6 says always-on altimeter. But I think you're right that it's using a barometer to measure that in the M-whatever coprocessor they're using now. Because they've always said barometer in the past. They haven't said altimeter before.
Well, that's actually a strike against the Apple Watch if the Series 3 even had it. And it's just now always on. Right. So they've just found a way to run it at a lower power state.
Right. Maybe it'll more accurately track the number of stairs you climb now, because mine's always off by a few.
Oh, really? Like how? Like a couple of stairs on a flight, or what?
Well, you know how the fitness app, it says the number of flights of stairs you climbed in a day. it was always off by a couple flights in my mind. Like, it would be something like an odd number when that would have been impossible because I would have had to go up an even number to get to where I was or something.
I'm just impressed that you're even looking at those numbers and noticing that they're inaccurate.
Well, I'm not anymore, and maybe it's gotten better. But I did have, I guess this was a couple years ago. I had a job in a hospital where I was frequently going between floors to speak with patients, and so I was keeping an eye on that because I think the barometer was a new feature at that point. And so I was really excited to watch it, and found it inaccurate.
Maybe what I'll do is I'll talk to my dad about what the use of an always-on altimeter could be. Maybe even get the Series 6 just to do another comparison. I know he's picked up a newer Garmin watch since then, so it could be interesting to see if things have improved tracking-wise.
Okay. And the next biggest feature is it now has the S6 system on a chip, which is 20% faster than the S5, which was basically identical to the S4. So very, very minor speed bump, even over a couple year period. But I don't think that matters. The watch is plenty fast for everything I use it for. I can't imagine there's people actually playing games on their watch where they would care that much about a 20% speed bump.
Exactly. There's nothing on my watch that is slow. Even since WatchOS 7 was announced, I said last show, that WatchOS 7 has actually made the whole watch a lot faster than it was previously. And we're talking about Series 3 on my wrist.
Right.
Nothing about it is slow, but I guess they have to do a speed bump, otherwise the list of new features is like down to 1.
It did also get the U1 chip, which was so insignificant they didn't even mention it on stage.
It's because
I imagine that'll have future implications.
Yeah, they had nothing to say. They shouldn't have even announced it in the iPhone, right? Because
right, it did nothing.
It did nothing. Almost still does nothing. Almost. Pointless chips and things.
Yeah. They also announced a few new designs of watch band to go along with it, the Solo Loop and the braided Solo Loop.
This is probably the best part of the whole Apple Watch announcement, really.
You think so?
Yeah, they look pretty cool. No more buckles or bands or Velcros or clasps or magnets. It's just a single loop. Comes in about 8 sizes, just guessing back to the graphic. When they first mentioned it, I thought it might be like a one-size-fits-all. How it just kind of has enough tension to fit the smallest wrist, but not to squeeze the biggest wrist. But no, it actually comes in a lot of different sizes.
It's actually a tool that you print out and you wrap it around your wrist to know what size you need to order.
Is there really? Well, they thought of everything. It comes in a liquid polyester. Did I get that right?
Polyester?
Polyurethane?
Polyurethane, probably. They call all their other bands fluoroelastomer. But I think they used a different word for this one.
I think they called it a liquid and then something astomer word. But anyway, it looks kind of like the original sports loop, just without the buckle.
Liquid silicone.
Liquid silicone, that's it. Nice. I think the braided one looks better, though, actually. I'm definitely a fan of the braided looking ones. I never found the silicone or poly or fluoro, whatever ones, all that comfortable. But thinking back to the original nylon bands when they came out, that was definitely my favorite. And then now I've got the, what do you call it? The new sports loop. It's like a Velcro.
Yeah. Sport loop.
Okay, good. Thank you. That's extremely comfortable. My one and only complaint is that it does hold a bit of water when it gets wet. But the braided Solo Loop doesn't look like it would hold water because it looks less fabric-y and more liquid, whatever you said, silicone-y.
Right, it says it's silicone threads, so yeah, they shouldn't absorb water.
Right. So yeah, I'm thinking that could be a new favorite for me.
It does look very rugged in my mind. The only thing I'm worried about is is as someone with fairly hairy arms, I feel like stretching the rubber across my arms could be pinchy.
That's a fair concern. So that's why you're leaning towards the new leather band instead.
Well, I've already got quite a few of the fluoroelastomer sport bands and the sport loops. And so at this point, if I'm going to add bands to my collection, I'd rather them be more formal looking ones, especially because the leather ones I've had for many years and are starting to wear out a little bit. So if I were to order another Apple Watch, I would opt for a leather band.
The leather ones aren't durable. I had the original leather loop, and it didn't take long at all for that to start showing the magnets underneath the leather. It was really a little disappointing for considering the price of it. It didn't wear nicely like an iPhone case and start to show like a leather pattern or whatever they call it.
Well, these new ones look like they have been redesigned, and they look thicker in the images, so I'm hoping they'll hold up more.
How about the watch faces?
Man, I don't know how to feel about watch faces at this point. It's always great to add more options. Some of them are very silly. Like literally a watch face that is a face with the number as like the eyes. That's very ridiculous. And to say we don't want people making their own watch faces because we're worried they're going to make ugly faces, and then to do something like this, it's very, very silly to me.
Maybe it was my 2 a.m. pessimism, or maybe it was really just bad, but I literally skipped the watch face segment. I just tapped forward until I was past it because I cared so little about what Apple's watch faces were going to look like.
Yeah, I don't think I saw any that I would want to switch to. So, yeah, it was something I paid very little attention to as well. But you can put your Memoji face as your watch face now.
Sorry, say that again?
I said you can use a Memoji as your watch face now.
Oh,
James.
Really? Amazing. What will they think of next?
I think that it's time to open up third-party support for our watch faces. Apple's clearly out of ideas.
Yeah. Oh, there must be so many good ideas out there, and developers itching to make something that looks really nice, and yet,
right?
We're just stuck with Apple, who seemingly don't really care that much about it.
It seems like they're trying to say that this being able to customize and share watch faces is like your own designing a watch face thing.
Yeah, design your own. Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Is that watch face gallery still a thing in the watch app? I think it is. And it's like, oh, you've got the activity face and like 1,000 different takes on how you can do that one face.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Yeah, face gallery, astronomy. And then it's got like, oh, it's only got 3 in astronomy. Actually, it seems to only have 3 in each. Oh no, chronograph's got like almost a dozen. But they're all just like very minor variations. Like a color is different or a complication is different.
Mm-hmm.
And they're trying to sell these as like, oh, the watch has like 100 different watch faces, which it kind of does, but also they're all basically the same thing with minor variations. Ah, yeah. Even like Pride Digital, a watch face. Well, it's literally the time with an image background. We've had that since WatchOS 1.
Right. Those are a little interactive, which I guess is the differentiating factor.
Are they? Okay. I've never said it.
Yeah. Usually the Pride watch faces, like you can tap them and the rainbow jiggles or something. It's very minor.
Yeah. I'm not giving that to them as another watch face. Anyway, let's move on to better things such as family setup, which is actually kind of cool and is going to be useful.
Yeah, this is very exciting.
So you can add basically like kids or grandma and grandpa watches to your phone and not have it as like the watch on your phone. So it's set up for that person and they don't have to have an iPhone. It's a nice step in the direction of Apple Watches being independent of iPhones, but that dream still hasn't been fully realized, but There's at least a little hint that it's going in that direction now.
Right, yeah, and this is cool because even if they're all set up with the same phone, everyone can have their own phone number, so you can still text and call their watch. And they'll have their own number to do that from. I imagine this involves some small extra fee with your cell phone provider. They didn't mention how that would work, but maybe even as much as adding an extra line. But hopefully there's some cheaper option since it's just a watch.
So it does require it to be a cellular watch as well because of that.
Right.
There's no Wi-Fi watches getting the family set up.
But the ability to set like location-specific notifications so you can see when someone arrives or leaves somewhere is awesome. And the first thing that came to my mind is I can't put this on my son's wrist because he'll play with it all day during school. They immediately resolved with a school time mode that locks the watch down to whatever degree of functionality you define, whether that's no apps or whatever. So I feel this could be very useful and maybe even something I'll consider in the near future.
And cleverly, I thought, the school time mode has just a single watch face that can be set, so a teacher can glance at a student's watch and see that it's in school time mode, just because they will learn to recognize that watch face.
Right.
Whoever thought of that must have kids or work at a school.
I mean, I think even still, it's going to be bumpy getting schools to be okay with it. I can see sending my son to school with an Apple Watch and the teacher's taking it off, and because no one's going to know about school time mode and not bother to learn. And I'm going to have to like go in and like, no, it's okay because it won't let them do anything. And
there's going to be a learning curve,
be a rough
that's for
adoption.
sure, for schools and parents.
Right. So, but I think I'm getting close to the point where this might make sense. My son's turning 8. My oldest turning 8 in a week and a half. And I feel like that's still a little too young because he never goes anywhere on his own besides school. But maybe in another year or two, this could be a really good option for us.
And here I am considering if my 3-year-old is old enough to have a watch on his wrist now. I would just love that peace of mind of knowing that if he not gets snatched, that's unlikely, but more likely that he just wanders off because he's heard like a tree lopper down the street and he just loves tree loppers. So he wanders off. This has actually happened. He heard some sort of tradesperson down the road and just wandered off to find them. But to have the peace of mind of just being able to quickly pull up, find and there he is.
That's a valid thought. It might be a less useful use case for the watch come next month when you can just slip an AirTag in his pocket or something. I think if we're just worried about location tracking, AirTag might do the job, and the watch is going to serve more of the phone call and notification functionality.
AirTags would be cool, but you are relying on someone's iOS device to be in range of that AirTag to pick it up. That might not always be the case.
That's fair. Yeah. The watch will definitely be more consistently reliable.
Also a lot more expensive, especially if you're paying another cellular plan or
right.
Whatever the case might be when that's available. Speaking of availability, it's Friday, so probably the 2 days after this show comes out, the watches will be available. Is that available
also
in store? Or what do you mean?
I assume it's in store, although most of the Apple stores in the United States aren't open.
Okay.
So I assume it's delivery day, but even jumping on the Apple store the moment it went back online, like the keynote wasn't even over yet. As soon as the Apple store went online, I was on there ordering it. My Apple Watch estimated delivery date was already into October.
You kidding?
So I'm not sure what their actual availability is. It seems to be very low because I'm sure not a lot of people were ordering it immediately. And the Series 5 was in stock for the full day before shipping date started slipping last time. So I think they have very limited stock right now.
Could it also have been affected by coronavirus? That's what we're guessing that was happened to the iPhone, I would say.
Probably something to do with that. It's probably also something to do with my band selection. I bet some of the cheaper bands would have been more available sooner and the new leather bands were taking longer. That might have been the delaying factor. I don't know.
Okay. And starting at $399. But there are cheaper options. The first one being something new, the Apple Watch SE. So the rumors were true. They come out with the SE.
Mm-hmm. They threw your hypothesis under the bus about reusing old manufacturing processes, though.
Yeah, they sure did. Because it's the same design as the new watch. And it's only got last year's system in a package. So,
right, yeah, and you're only missing the EKG, the blood oxygen sensor, and the always-on display. Other than that, you've got everything.
Those things must cost a bundle because this one's selling for $279 US. So it's a difference of $120.
Right, yeah. I think this is a very appealing option for people who are less interested in the health aspects of the watch and are more interested in just the general wrist computer parts.
Yeah. But it's also very hard to argue for this one when you've got a Series 3 still starting at $199, which is an absolute steal for an excellent watch. And as I've said multiple times now, it's still very fast and even faster with watchOS 7.
I was very surprised to see them keep this around. I guess they just want to keep that starting price the same, and since this watch is, the SE is $80 more, they had to leave it for another year.
Maybe they like having that tiered structure, so you start looking at the watches because they're starting at $199, which is so cheap and very affordable. Mm-hmm. But then you go, if I, just reach another $80, I can get the biggest screen and newer everything. Basically, newer everything. And then you look, for just another $120, I can get the top tier watch.
I am very guilty of doing exactly that multiple times. It's just a few dollars more, and then over and over again until I've talked myself into the most expensive one.
I think that theme is actually going to come up when we talk about the Apple One bundles as well.
Oh, yeah.
But first of all, before we go into that, Apple Fitness Plus was announced. Now, also rumored for a long time, I think. For most of this year, I think we've seen rumors of the Apple Fitness Plus. And I don't think there are any surprises, really. Everything that we thought would be coming came. And to me, the only surprise was that it was so expensive. At
yes, exactly.
$10 US a month, which seems excessive, but I'm not the target market for this. I don't even know what its competitors are. But I've actually already had a friend of mine say that the bundle is very appealing because it includes a fitness service and their partner is subscribed to some other fitness service. So it appeals to some people, at least.
It is a lot less than a gym membership or something. A gym membership is probably not the best comparison because you're paying for access to the equipment. But let's say a yoga class or something, or some other intensity interval training class or cycling class or whatever. I think $10 a month is reasonable when you compare it to that.
But do you know how many of these are already on YouTube or any other video sharing site?
That's fair. Yeah, I would say that Apple offers very little above and beyond just a YouTube video as far as this program goes.
For $10 a month, you're paying to see your vitals on screen with the video, instead of having to glance at your wrist. You can literally glance at your wrist and save yourself $10 a month.
Yeah, that's fair. You take the $80 a year plan, though, and you're only paying $6.50 a month, which is closer. I was saying this had to be like a $5 a month plan when I was watching the keynote leading up to the price announcement. So for it to be 10 blew me out of the water.
I'm amused that you described like 50 cents as half a dollar. Just sounded funny, but anyway. I guess you're also paying for a a curation, which you're not going to get on YouTube. You're going to get 1.5 million terrible fitness videos probably before you find one that's half decent.
right? And I don't know at what rate Apple's going to be putting out new videos. I know other services like Peloton offer new videos daily and have live sessions you can tune into. And I don't think Apple is going to be competing like that at all. But they do have a couple months to get this ready. It's said by the end of the year. So maybe they'll surprise us and they'll have a really good selection of workouts. And if there's live classes, that could be a little more interesting, I think, than just pre-recorded videos.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how that all works. I mean, live classes is a bit weird because they're targeting a lot of countries with the initial launch. So, like, how do you do live when it's in...
That's true.
One side of the world and then 2 a.m. on the other side of the world.
Yeah, that would be pretty hard. Maybe they are releasing this just with the anticipation that people will get it as a bundle and never on its own.
Yeah, I bet that's what they were selling Apple News as to all the publishers who have started pulling out of Apple News Plus. Like, just wait until the bundle at the end of the year. I swear you'll have some more subscribers come along then.
They are offering 3 months free of Apple Fitness Plus with the purchase of an Apple Watch. So I was looking forward to trying it out with my new watch and seeing if it was worth the money. But at this point, I don't know. Maybe I'll still check it out for a month or two, just so we have something to talk about.
So are you telling me that you're not going to be subscribed to the Premier Apple One bundle, which includes Fitness Plus?
No, there's no way. We had to talk about how much we're actually spending on services on the last show or the show before, and between the Apple services I'm getting for free right now and the stuff that I'm not using at all, it would cost me like an extra $15 a month to bundle, which is not worth it. A bundle of things you don't want doesn't make it better.
No, that's exactly what we said. Yeah, I think my words were something like, I'm already paying for what I want, so if it's not the same price or cheaper, then I wouldn't get it.
Exactly.
But a little theme has popped up again in that I think for only like $3 or $4 extra, I can actually get the bundle. So now I'm like, should I just, I don't really need Apple Arcade, but I also kind of do want it. And now with the bundle, I wouldn't have to pay like the full amount for Apple Arcade. It would just, it'd come in at like a discount rate. So maybe I could just, sneak it in and then have like a monthly bill as well, which is nice instead of getting the 2 bills a month.
What iCloud storage are you currently paying for, though?
I pay for the 2 terabyte option.
Okay. So are you looking at the Premier plan or like a family or individual plan?
Individual's out because I'm definitely in the family business.
Okay. Well, the family plan comes with 200 gigabytes. So look at whatever price that is and add a few extra dollars to upgrade to the 2 terabyte plan on top of that.
Right. So this is going to be hard to do with Australian dollars, but so I'm currently paying $15 for the 2 terabyte Apple iCloud plan, and then $17 or maybe $18 for Apple Music. So that's
okay.
32 Australian already.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look at the Premier plan, it's $37 Australian. So that's only $5 extra, okay. And I get Apple News Plus, Apple Fitness Plus, and TV Plus for a mere $5 a month. That works out really well. And then the other option, actually, would be the family plan. So they're selling that as $26 a month. But the option is available to pay for more iCloud storage. So I could get the family plan and then pay for the extra storage. If it was at the going rate now, between 200 gig and 2 TB, that's 10 Australian. So we'd be looking at 36, I don't know, $32 a month, and then miss out on News Plus and Fitness Plus, I think is the difference. So, yeah.
So you would get Arcade for free.
I'll get Arcade for close to free, yeah.
Yeah.
So all that to say, it actually seems like a fairly good option and something worth considering, which I didn't expect. But it sounds like you're in a completely different boat to me.
I think if I wasn't getting Apple Music free from my carrier, it'd probably be worth it.
That makes a huge difference.
As it is now, yeah. Maybe Apple will stop offering Apple Music free through carriers now that they have this bundle, and they'll force me into it. Because it would be a good deal if I was paying for everything right now.
And also, as I mentioned before, I have had a message from a friend of mine already this morning saying that they're strongly considering Apple One as a bundle. Currently, they're a Spotify user and some other fitness service user and a casual gamer with an Xbox subscription. Like casual enough on the Xbox that Apple Arcade would actually fit the bill for what they're playing.
Very casual.
Yeah, very casual. But it would, he said he was extremely tempted by it. It would save a lot of money and simplify the whole, number of emails and outgoing monies every month.
Okay.
So yeah, I think they've hit the nail on the head.
It's definitely cheaper than I expected. I was expecting maybe starting at like $35. So I'm happy to see $30 US at least. And this is very loosely related to a service, but I just saw this. It's worth bringing up. Did you see Apple Care Plus? The terms for that got updated?
No.
Now, if you purchase Apple Care Plus, you don't get just 2 accidental damages, repairs, or replacements. You get 2 per year. So that's, I think Apple Care Plus is 2 or 3 years. So that's 4 or 6 replacements.
That's really good.
And then the deductibles were lowered as well. So yeah, it seems to be a much better deal now.
Okay, that's excellent. Yeah, 2 per year.
I think I've only ever used accidental damage replacement once when I dropped my phone on the cement, but it is nice to have.
Yeah, it really gives you some peace of mind and maybe convince some more people to go caseless.
Right. Did you also see, immediately following the Apple One announcement, Spotify put out some kind of press message about how anti-competitive Apple is?
Complete BS. Irreparable harm to the developer community caused by the Apple One bundle.
Right. I can't even imagine where that's coming from. Like, it's bad for developers that Apple is bundling their services together. It is interesting that Apple's able to do this at all, because my understanding prior to Apple One is that the music industry has some very strict regulations about what the minimum you can charge someone is. And offering a discount even as part of a bundle for a streaming service isn't allowed, even if the company making the discount is like eating that discount and still paying the same amount to the streaming service. There's I don't know, there's a lot of legal loopholes about why that isn't allowed. So I was surprised to see Apple was able to do it, and maybe that's what Spotify is referencing, but it was very vague, and it seemed ridiculous to me when I was reading their statement.
Yep, vague certainly is what I was thinking too. But yeah, I bet years worth of boardroom arguments went into this Apple One deal, especially considering all the different industries that are involved. Yeah, I mean, Spotify has bundle deals themselves, as Byte of Apple says in the comments. They have a free version of their service with bundled with Hulu and Showtime. That's
true. I don't even know what leg Spotify has to stand on anymore. Most of the things that they've complained about, Apple has resolved at this point. Spotify can play on the HomePod. Spotify can integrate directly with Siri now. I guess it can't be chosen as your default music playing service in the way that you can choose a default browser in iOS 14. But it seems like their biggest complaint at this point is just that Apple Music comes pre-installed on the iPhones and Spotify doesn't.
Imagine if Apple had treated Spotify like they treated Epic, and just like the moment a complaint came in, they're just like, "Oh, sorry, you're off the App Store and we've cancelled your developer account."
Well, Epic did a little more than complain. They deliberately violated the terms of service.
Oh yeah,
the developer agreement.
Yeah, slightly more. Yeah, I'm just ignoring that part.
Yeah.
Oh man, the commenters are brutal about on Spotify though. In the comments, there's a lot of pro Apple in the comments on the Reddit thread.
Oh really?
Justifiably, for the most part.
it's so interesting to see how the internet flip flops on that, because there's been some definitely very anti-Apple rhetoric when Spotify first went public about how against Apple they were a year or two ago.
Anyway, new iPads, more excitingly.
Yeah.
New
on to iPad 8 now.
New in quotes. Yeah, iPad 8. Wow. Is it actually called that?
It's called the new iPad, but I think they do call it the 8th generation iPad in some places.
I love the new iPad. That started with like the 3rd generation iPad, didn't it?
Mm-hmm.
The new iPad, and everyone since has been the new iPad. Except for Airs and Pros and all that, of course. But, yeah.
Right.
It's nice that they're... and kind of ridiculous and kind of comical that we still get the new iPad like every year or two. But the new iPad's actually typically an excellent product for the price you pay for it.
Yeah, it's an awesome value. A very minor improvement this year, just jumping up to the A12 Bionic chip, but still at the same $300 starting point. It's an awesome value.
But I guess the bigger iPad announcement is that the iPad Air is going to kind of the iPad Pro design. So it's the iPad Air 4.
Right. Yeah, this was an interesting announcement in my mind. The fact that they would take the iPad Pro 11-inch footprint and put a 0.1-inch smaller screen in it, just so we have another screen size and another resolution that you have to develop for is very odd choice in my mind.
And they've also made it USB-C like the iPad Pros, and it's got this year's chip in it from presumably the iPhones.
Right.
The A14 Bionic. Which
that's kind of exciting. Do you remember a decade ago now when the iPad was the premier flagship device that new Apple Silicon was released on, and it trickled down to the iPhone in the coming months?
Yeah, that's right.
So kind of cool to see that again.
The difference being that it was typically like an A number X to show that it had like higher graphics capabilities, whereas this iPad Air looks like it's just going to have like literally the iPhone's chip in it. And as some commenters say, it looks like the A12Z is actually possibly a more capable chip in the iPad Pros from earlier this year.
Yeah, I've seen some armchair mathematicians going off of the vague percentages Apple's released relative to other chips, try to guess. And I think that the consensus at this point is that the A14 will be faster in some tasks like just single core performance, but I think the A12Z still has A12Z. Let's see what you got me doing now. The A12Z it still has like some more graphics cores, so I think that it will be faster in some tasks as well.
I'm going to try and convert you over to Z.
Good luck. I've tried myself to switch over to that, and I can't pull it off.
You could pretend you're Canadian.
That's exactly why. I don't want people to know that I'm American.
Yeah, so yeah. I like your summary, the armchair commentators, did you say? Armchair mathematicians.
Armchair mathematicians.
Yeah, we don't know, but I'm sure we'll know soon enough because availability is next month.
Right.
But the most interesting thing about this, and perhaps the most interesting thing about the entire keynote, is that we have a new Touch ID button, and it's built into the power button.
Face ID must be crazy expensive. For this iPad Air that still starts at 64 gigabytes, to be $600 and still have Touch ID is I don't know where. I can't imagine what it would have been with Face ID. It's crazy. In my opinion, Face ID is a far superior biometric method in general, but especially in the context of an iPad where it works in all orientations, and I'm usually using it at my desk anyway. So it's too bad they weren't able to get it onto this iPad Air as well.
Yeah, I'm not all in on Face ID like you are. I think it's slightly better, but I don't think I'll be too off-put if the next iPhone, for instance, came with like a Touch ID in the power button. I wouldn't mind that much. Like, get rid of the notch, just stick the biometric in the power button instead.
If I was going to tell you my main issues I've had with Face ID, it's 100% iPhone related, and it all has to do with the fact that I've been wearing a mask every time I leave the house, and I have to enter my password every time. Mm-hmm. Very frustrating. Never been an issue on my iPad Pro though. My iPad Pro is always at my desk, not wearing a mask. Mm-hmm. I love Face ID on my iPad Pro. It's been a nuisance on my iPhone recently though. So if anything, I'd prefer Touch ID to be on the iPhone than the iPad.
Yeah, look, you're in like the United States and you're wearing a mask and you want Touch ID. You're in like Norway and it's freezing cold and you want Face ID because you've got gloves on all the time. Everywhere you go in the world, something else is superior. So the final solution,
right, is
just to have both. And there have been rumors, although they're fairly old now, about both coming to an iPhone in the future. Possibly even rumors from like 2018, I think they were.
The problem with having both is if what Apple says about security is to be taken at face value, Face ID is like 10x harder to fool than Touch ID. And the moment you have both, the security of the data on your phone is only as protected as your weakest biometric, right? So it doesn't matter if you have Face ID anymore because anyone can fake your fingerprint to get in.
What if both?
Not that this is
were an option.
Well, I'm saying I guess if you had both and you only chose one, but in my mind, if you had both, you'd want to configure it to work with either one so that when I'm at home, I can look at my phone, it'll unlock with Face ID. When I'm out with a mask, I can press my finger on the side. And as soon as I allow it to accept both is when. But I guess you're right. If both are offered and someone really cares about their data privacy, they could opt to not use one over the other.
Yeah. Maybe there's like a slider, more secure, less secure. Like when you're erasing a disk or disk utility, you can choose like just to wipe the allocation table, whatever it's called, or do like write it over with random ones and zeros, which takes 7 days. But it does seem very unaptly to give people, iPhone users, a choice. So I would still be very surprised. I think I said that in 2018 as well, whenever that rumor came about. I think it'd be very unaptly to stick both in there and have to make people choose, or just to make the whole situation more complicated.
I mean, it wouldn't be the first time Apple's backtracked on a technology like 3D Touch. Imagine if Face ID goes the way of 3D Touch because Apple can't figure out how to get an all-screen display without getting rid of the true depth sensor. Yep. And so they put this Touch ID sensor on the side, and they do it in the name of innovation. They encourage, and at this point, nothing surprises me because they have backtracked on things in the past now.
Yeah, one or two things. Still waiting for them to backtrack on the, what do you call that thing above the keyboard with the LEDs?
Oh, the touch bar?
Touch bar. Yeah, still waiting on that to be backtracked on.
Maybe in the new Apple Silicon redesigns, if these computers actually get touchscreens, the touch bar would serve almost no purpose at that point.
Yeah, that'd be great. And to stick an SD card reader into them at the same time.
Anything's possible.
Yeah, anything. And I think lastly, on the iPad Airs, there are a couple of random colors, green and sky blue.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, it's definitely cool that they're adding more colors to their lineup. If their white and black options have kind of gotten boring at this point, so I'm sure that it'll sell a lot of people just on the fact they can have a green iPad now.
Yeah, just another small reason to upgrade, I guess.
Yeah, and by the nature of it being the form factor of the 11-inch iPad Pro, it works with the Apple Pencil 2 and accessories like the Magic Keyboard.
Yeah, also huge bonuses. You wonder if they didn't change the form factor exclusively so that they could sell more Magic Keyboards. because they cost almost as much as the iPad.
Right. Yeah, I don't know who's gonna buy the Magic Keyboard when they're wanting to save a few dollars and buy the Air over the Pro already.
Maybe it's a case of the Air plus the keyboard is palatable compared to the Pro plus the keyboard, which is extraordinary.
Right.
There's one random topic that I saw since our last show. Unless you've got something else on the keynote before I go on.
Yeah, there was a couple things that weren't specifically announced in the keynote that people pointed out afterwards that I thought were maybe worth bringing up, or at least interesting. And they all were kind of like, I don't know if they're Easter eggs or what, down in the Apple Silicon Lab part of the keynote.
Oh, I was wondering if someone would spot something in there. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Please enlighten me.
So one thing that someone saw sitting on a desk, kind of out of the way, was an iPad Pro just on a Magic Keyboard. But the cutout on the back of the Magic Keyboard was only big enough to accommodate the single camera of the 2018 iPad Pro. So showing that they were working on the Magic Keyboard before the new quad camera design.
Okay, that's
so
interesting.
They had variants for the old ones too. Yeah, well, it was kind of cool. Very minor thing, but neat to see. Something else. I think we got our first glimpse of iPhone 12 in that lab.
Really?
Yeah. I'm going to see if we can find a picture to send you. There was definitely the development kit version of the iPhone. Like, it was a huge circuit board with an iPhone screen just in the middle of the board. And it was connected to power via what looked like a MagSafe jack.
Imagine.
It was very
lives
interesting.
On in the lab and it powers iPhones.
But it was very. It was very much a development machine. It had like active cooling fans mounted on top of certain components. But it was definitely some kind of iPhone like testing bench because it had an iPhone screen installed on it.
That's the way you truly unlock the power of the A14, is you fan cool it.
I mean, there has been some rumors leading up to the first Apple Silicon Macs that at least the very base model Apple Silicon Macs could get basically a straight A14X or something in it. So maybe that is something they're messing with.
What if the Apple Silicon Macs were just shells that you like spring-loaded your iPhone into them?
That would be not the first time someone's done that. It'd be very interesting. I sent you a link in Discord to this image.
Okay, yeah, I can remember that screen. All right, yeah. So they look like motherboards with iPhone screens stuck onto them.
Right, yeah, and a MagSafe charger connected to them.
Oh, the old one, the L-shaped MagSafe charger. The worst MagSafe. Interesting that they'd go for that.
The last thing you need is your iPhone test equipment to get ripped off the desk, right?
Well, I think they've acknowledged that by kind of mounting it pointing down. There's no way it would really pull it off the desk. If it was flat, it would be a problem, but I think they're pretty safe with them like that.
Right.
I'll try and remember to put this image in the show notes. I can't set it as the chapter R, unfortunately, since we moved to Anchor and they don't support chapters at all.
All right. Yeah, I'll try to remind you if you don't.
All right.
So, but kind of a cool thing to look at, even if it's not the iPhone 12, it's definitely some iPhone test bench.
Yeah, that's great. It's very cool. So the last thing that happened since we last spoke is that Apple's arch nemesis bought ARM Holdings. So that's NVIDIA. Apple seems to hate NVIDIA since they had some sort of graphics card debacle about 8 years ago. And
right.
Apple's never used NVIDIA since then. And we're finding ourselves in a funny situation now that NVIDIA owns ARM.
I can't imagine this has much impact on Apple Silicon development. My initial thought was concerned that this would impact Apple's licensing fees or something, but I think if this would have been a serious threat to Apple, there's no reason that they couldn't have bought ARM if they wanted to or needed to. And Rene Ritchie tweeted something to the effect of Apple has a perpetual license already, and so it doesn't matter who owns it. They've already got a set fee they're paying like forever, so it doesn't matter to them who owns it at this point.
Yeah, okay, they're good points. Yeah, especially the one that, about Apple having, they've got the money to buy ARM holdings if they wanted to, so they must not have seen any threat to their to themselves if they didn't bother trying to beat Nvidia to it.
I've also seen some people theorizing that Apple's kind of moving away from the base ARM architectures, and they've used it as a jumping off point, but slowly innovating to the point where they have kind of their own thing, and it's not ARM quote unquote at all at this point, and that's maybe part of what Apple Silicon is, so maybe not an issue to them anyway.
Maybe they could rename it to something more catchy than Apple Silicon then. Or maybe just keep ARM, but instead of Acorn, just call it Apple Reduced Instruction Set Machine.
Oh my, yeah, it was meant to be, especially considering Apple saved them from bankruptcy 20 years ago.
Right. And the only reason that it was Acorn is because they wanted to be in front of Apple in the address book, in the phone book back in the 80s. That's true.
But there's nothing stopping Apple from making their own instruction set so that they don't have to use RISC anymore. And so now that they're making their own chips for all of their devices, yeah, there's nothing holding them back. They could make their own instruction set and be completely separated from ARM in every way, and maybe that's already what they're working on.
Well, I mean, there's complex instruction set, there's reduced instruction set. What we need is for Johnny Ive to come back and make a minimalist instruction set. We could call it MISC. The Apple MISC.
Oh man, that would be perfect.
It would be perfect. I can't wait.
But not going to happen.
Well, it doesn't make sense besides that.
But yeah, I don't think this is going to be a threat. But I did have a little bit of initial concern when I saw that.
Any other news we need to catch up on before we finish up?
I think that was the big stuff.
Yeah. Well, I'm James VDM on Reddit and on Twitter.
And I'm Jellywoot on Reddit and Twitter.
And you can find show notes and hopefully links to images, if I remember, at reddit.com/TheRAppleShow. Cheers. All right.
I got in an argument on Reddit today, and I wanted to get your opinions on it.
Ooh, can I go and stalk you and find it?
You can. The post is still on my profile, but the Apple subreddit mods deleted it. So this is interesting. Yeah.
Apple Watch Series 6 no longer has Sapphire display.
Apple's removed all references to Sapphire displays on the Series 6 Apple Watches.
Yeah.
All the images of Series 6 are all aluminum, and you can still see it says Ion X on the back. There's no images of the stainless steel or titanium watches, and there's no mention of sapphire as a differentiating factor anymore. And I think, even still, that they've ditched sapphire. Now, I reached out to Apple support through the online chat, and a couple other people in chat did as well, or in the Reddit comments did as well. And everyone that we were able to reach said that Series 6 is still sapphire, but I don't think that the Apple online support reps are even I don't know, up to date on what's going to be new in Series 6. I don't think they learn that kind of stuff any sooner than we do.
I don't think they're a good source of information when it comes to breaking news like that.
Right. So I don't believe them. I believe Apple in not mentioning it anymore. And I got in an argument with some guy in one of the comment threads below the post about, he's like, well, just because they're not marketing a feature doesn't mean it's not there anymore. And I feel like that the opposite is actually true. Apple would not stop advertising this feature of the stainless steel over the aluminum watch unless it didn't exist anymore.
Yeah, if they don't mention a notable feature, then normally it's not there.
Right.
I'm just going through your argument. Some of your comments are upvoted, some of them downvoted. It's all over the place. SoCal Badger, you made an incorrect assumption and should delete this post. You are misleading visitors. God.
I'm pretty sure that he reported my post to the mods after that, because it was immediately after he made that comment that the mods removed my post.
Maybe he's a mod. Did you check that?
No. I don't think if he was a mod he would have said that. I think he would have just done it.
Yeah. No, he's not. Well, how are we going to find out? Just have to wait until people have the watches, or I guess more information comes about.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll know Friday when people get their watch in their hands and complain. If it's true, which I'm assuming it is right now. Yep. But I'm glad to hear you agree, because it seemed to be the consensus in the comments that it was still going to be a feature.
No. If they're not mentioning it, it's usually gone.
Right, and there was even links to like the Wayback Machine showing like how prominently it was highlighted in the past. So, yeah, I think it's gone.
Like the ceramic
which I'm really
watch.
Disappointed about.
Didn't mention it. It's gone.
Right. Exactly. Because even though in like I think Jerry Rig Everything did a test showing that the Sapphire allegedly scratches at the same level as the glass, in my experience, having owned the Sport, which also they dropped the Sport name for the Apple Watch. It's just Apple Watch Aluminum and Apple Watch Stainless Steel now.
I thought they did that generations ago.
Maybe they have, and I just noticed it. But
I'm fairly sure they have.
I definitely noticed it today. Anyway, having owned both, and even looking now, I've got my stainless steel watch on. The screen is still flawless. And you've got a Series 3. How's your screen looking, James, after years of me owning it traveling across the world, and then you wearing it?
Let me just shine a light onto it. I would say...
Yes, please do.
Shine a light onto the topic. Hang on. Let me give it a quick polish as well first. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's very good, considering the age of it.
My aluminum watches that I owned in the past, a year would go by and I would have maybe one or two deep grooves in it. Just like at the year mark, my iPhone has maybe one or two deep grooves in it somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a really bad scratch. And that's never happened on my stainless steel watches.
When I look at the steel around the edge of the screen, it is just like the most scratched up piece of metal you've ever seen. And then you look at the glass, and I think I can see like one or two minor roughages to it. And that's it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm not sure to what degree they are different, but they definitely are in my experience. And so if Sapphire is gone, I'm going to be really disappointed.
Okay.
Something else we didn't mention is that they're taking the charging brick out of the Apple Watch boxes now.
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that.
Although it looks like it's just the cheaper ones. The edition watches are still going to get it.
Yeah, that's fair.
Which I think that's an indication that it's more of a price thing than a we're trying to save the world thing.
Yeah, very much so. Oh, by the way, since the Series 2, Apple hasn't used the Sport name in the Apple Watch. It's quite a long time
Has
ago.
it really been that long?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. I guess I haven't paid any attention to what they named them since then, because I think that was like the last aluminum one I bought.
You're an upper tier watch buyer. That's the problem.
I don't worry about what they market to the peasants. I can't get behind the titanium edition though, because it looks like you're wearing an aluminum one, and people need to know I spent more on this watch.
Yeah, they have to. Maybe you could, I don't know, what could you do to let people know? Put a Rolex on the other wrist.
Yeah, there you go. So, yeah, I'm pretty disappointed about the ceramic thing though. I've always, like, every time, it's been very infrequently, but when I do see like a really stark white ceramic Apple Watch on someone's wrist, I always think it looks beautiful. So I was kind of excited to pick one up this year.
And I thought the introduction of the ceramic watch was like a sign that more things would be getting ceramic, because it's often portrayed as a futuristic material.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of come and gone.
Well, it's not the first time it's gone. The Series 3 also didn't have a ceramic variant when the Series 2 did. So it seems to be like an every other year kind of thing for some reason.
The Series 2 had a ceramic. Okay.
Or no, I'm sorry. Series 3 had a ceramic. Series 4 didn't. And Series 5 did.
Right, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe Apple's new Apple Silicon MacBooks will be ceramic. You can eat your dinner off
that'd be a
them
little heavy.
and then use them as a computer.
On the opposite end of the modern iPhone tech spectrum, I added something to my iPhone collection the other day.
Oh, yeah?
I got a Motorola rocker. Remember those?
Excellent. The very first iPhone, kind of.
Right, that had ran the iPod interface. So cool. And I made the mistake at the time of ordering it of forgetting what phones worked like in 2005, 2006. Even though this phone has the capability of syncing with a computer to upload your music, it does not have the ability to charge over the sync cable. You need a separate charge cable for that.
Oh, you're kidding. That's hilarious.
So I purchased the sync cable, and it just arrived today, and I plugged it in, and it did nothing. I'm like, oh no. Even though it uses the same port and this weird 40-pin connector on the bottom, you need a different cable to charge it.
Those old connectors are amazing.
Uh-huh.
And awful.
So I don't actually mind that it doesn't turn on. It just gets set on a shelf, but I was kind of curious to see exactly how the interface worked without a scroll wheel.
It would be unusable as a phone, right? Because none of the mobile networks would still be in existence.
I think you're right. It's a 2G phone, and all of our 2G networks went away in the last few years.
That's a shame. You could make a YouTube video. Is the Motorola rocker worth it in 2020?
Let me see if I can find this. There was a thread. This is going to be almost impossible to find. When the Motorola rocker came out, or not the rocker, when the first iPhone came out, there was a thread comparing the two and saying why the rocker was better.
Oh, yeah. I love those.
Yeah. There's no way I'm going to find it now that it's been 13 years.
How about those memes that compared things to rocks? Like the original iPhone to a rock, has 3G, X. Records
They're equally good.
X.
That's right.
Lasts 1 million years. The rock gets a tick.
Oh man, the Motorola rocker had a flash on the camera, and the iPhone didn't, and so I was check.
Well,
so
because everyone uses flashes on their cameras.
Yeah, on their VGA quality cell phone cameras,
you'd see every pixel.
Mm-hmm. So how'd your move go?
Oh god, it was awful.
Really?
On the first day, I hurt my foot. I thought I'd broken it actually. So.
Oh no!
It wasn't a one-day thing because we're moving 2 units. We didn't have removalists to come and do the job. We're just doing it bit by bit. And yeah, I think it was the last thing I moved on that day was just a big heavy cabinet. And yeah, went to sleep with a sore foot and woke up with a leg I could barely walk on.
Oh man.
So yeah, I pushed through on the first day, and that wasn't even. On the second day, I pushed through the pain, and that was an even worse idea because by the third day, I wasn't really able to walk at all.
Right.
So in the end,
did you have anyone else helping you out?
Yeah, well, Yasmin was doing heaps of the work, and I was trying to look after the 2 kids, but one of them's still on the boob, so it was kind of hard. Mm-hmm. In the end, I just called up my 2 younger brothers, and Yasmin did heaps of the work, but they kind of accelerated the final bit of it to bring everything to this part of the property, at least, even if it wasn't where it was supposed to be. At least if it was like in the vicinity of the house or the room it was supposed to go in, I could kind of hobble it into position, which is what happened. But then, so of course, at the end of the move, the kids both get sick, and so they're like snotty, screamy little devils for the next few days after that, and we're already just exhausted from the move. So now we've had half a week of exhaustion physically, and now half a week of just sleep deprivation from screaming, snotty kids.
Oh man.
Yeah. So that's been my week.
So did you drop something on your foot, or what did you do?
There was no notable event. That was the weird part. I certainly kicked my foot a few times on things and bumped it around, but that happens during a move. But there wasn't any particular time when, I absolutely like felt like something go or something break or anything like that.
Huh.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Well, now that you're got a little bit of time to settle and calm down, are you liking the new place?
Oh yeah, it's fantastic. Internal, the layout is actually identical. Like every second unit's a mirror of the other one, and we moved 2 units, so it's physically identical inside. But since it's the last in the row of 4, it has a backyard, and that's just made a huge difference to quality of life. Just being able to go and sit in the backyard, it's amazing. I've certainly missed it the last. I think it's been less than 2 years since I moved into this place from the last place, which was a house on a full block. But yeah, loving it, loving life. Besides what I previously just mentioned.
Man, it sounds like you've got a lot of really minor moves. I can't think of the last time I moved any more than like 100 miles. And you're moving like 2 doors down or a block down the street. Yeah,
I'm still in the suburb that I grew up in. I've moved out a few times, but I haven't gone
just
fast.
Slowly getting farther from your parents every time.
I just can't cut the cord.
Well, I just moved back to the city I grew up in, so I'm in a similar boat.
Yeah,
now.
Okay. And also, like, if I moved 100 Ks, I'd be like in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
So I can't even do that. If I wanted to move to a major city, as I say, practically every week, I'd be at least a flight or a 3-day drive from my family.
Isn't Perth a major city?
Yes, if I moved to the next major city.
Oh, okay.
I should also say that nowhere in Perth is more than like a 40-minute drive. So it's fairly compact as far as cities go, I think.
Man, it feels I don't know, for some reason it sounds like isolating in my mind. You might as well be on an island, considering how you're on an island surrounded by desert, basically.
Yeah, it is kind of like that. And as a result, we're like 3 months COVID free and no restrictions.
That's true.
So it's working out quite well for us here in good old Western Australia.
Yeah, maybe I should consider island life.